And yes, my name is Knut Relbe-Moe. So I work for a company called Omnia, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you to present all you need to know about webinars in Microsoft Teams. At least hopefully it will be all you need to know. Maybe there's something else you need to know and I cannot give you the answer on that, but let's see. And feel free to do a Q&A and ask some questions afterwards if you have. And yes, I'm totally fine with unmuting afterwards, so that is totally fine. So a little bit about myself. I have worked with Microsoft for many years. I think it's like 8 years now. I've been a Microsoft MVP. Kind of the old SharePoint guy, you know, like everybody's, or at least a lot of people started with SharePoint, and so did I. But these days, of course, we move more and more into Microsoft Teams and working with Teams. And of course, since I'm also the organizer for a few conferences, you know, like I'm organizing the Old SharePoint Saturday Oslo, and as well we organized a Nordic collab days last year online. And then of course everybody is needing to select like what platform shall we use for our webinars, and happily and luckily now Microsoft Teams is an amazing platform for that. And this is kind of the reason behind this session, that I wanted to share a little bit of insights and knowledge behind Microsoft Teams as a webinar platform. So the goal for this session is, of course, to learn how to set up this in Microsoft Teams, learn how to customize this customize the registration page. And I also want to talk a little bit about some cool new things that I hope should already be in my tenant, so I could have showed you, but it is not in any of my 10 tenants or more that I have. But Microsoft is also coming with some new cool things where it's possible to integrate with LinkedIn Live, so that we can actually live broadcast our Teams webinar into LinkedIn Live as well. There are, of course, a few other alternatives if you cannot wait for that LinkedIn Live connection, like if you want to kind of live stream it to YouTube or to some other platforms. There are some other products out there that you might want to look into, and I will name drop at least a couple of those as well. So yeah, but that is at least the goal from the session from my side. So I hope you will learn something during the session today, and yeah, feel free to ask questions afterwards. Just in case things is not working, I put up a few slides here, but actually I want to show it to you live instead. So I will just jump into my right window, and then I will show it to you directly from how it is, so it will be easier for you guys to kind of do it afterwards and not just the slides. So to set up a webinar, it's pretty easy. We'll just go over here, and let me also now just switch this one. Let's see, I think the language is Norwegian, so let's just first switch it to English. So that should be helpful for everybody, easier to understand. So let's do that. So now you also saw how you can actually switch the language of your Teams environment, because here it reads whatever language I have in the browser. So that's why it was Norwegian here. So to set up a meeting, I will just go to my calendar over here. So normally when you do the meetings, you will do a new meeting here, or you can do a webinar, or you can do a live event. So, but this session right now is all about the webinars and why we should use that one. So let's just go and set up one. So here you see that this is the registration page. Let's just zoom in a little bit to make sure that everybody will see it. So here we see we have the page where we can kind of create our webinar. So this should be the name of the webinar, of course, Team Nation, all you need to know about webinars, like this. Here you can add presenters. So for instance, here I can go in and add myself as a presenter, and you see here we also get up external users. So if you have put in the person before, or you can also probably just do an email. So let's just go and do like this. And then you see I can also invite an external person in here as a presenter. So it doesn't need, the presenter doesn't need to be a person in your organization. So that's also something that is really good to know. But for this right now, I will just do myself with this email, because this is the one that I'm logged into like this. So now I have put one speaker. You can of course put multiple speakers as well if you want here. And I will come back to later why this is a good idea to do it over here. Then we can go in and just go in here. We can set it should be from 1 p.m. today until 1:30 p.m. or it can be all day. We can go in and type like join this webinar about all you need to know about Teams webinars. And we can add a lot of more things here. It's not that it's something you can invent yourself. But then you see on the top here that we have called here require registration for everyone. We have response options. So we can say that, okay, we will request a response or we are not allowing forwarding. So it kind of depends what type of webinar you want to have. If it should be like something that is for not only your organization, but it should be like an open event, like for instance, Teams Nation, which we are part of right now. We could go here and say here it could be open for everyone. So that means that everyone with the registration link can register. We can all have to register. So and then we can go here for people in the organization, or we can say none. So then it will be nobody needs to register. And you saw then we don't get no more the kind of option here to how do you want the attendees to register, you know. Then we need to have the view registration form here as well, which we will come back to a little bit later. So, and here we can also put in optional presenters. So for instance, maybe it could be the moderator for your session, like I have my moderator here together with me today. And we can also go and categorize it with the predefined categories if you want. So, but let's now just go quickly into the registration form, and we will come back to this window a little bit later as well. So here you see I have my registration form. Right now it's not too much information here, but of course we can work on that. So, and here we'll put again the same name. So here's a little bit pity that it doesn't copy everything over from here. So here it would have been great if it will have kind of pre-filled in here, because it should be kind of the same. And you see also here we need to go in and update the time and stuff here as well. So make sure that they are synchronized. And you see it's Microsoft Teams meetings. Here we can put in a session. So here we can go in and say event about all you need to know about webinars in Microsoft Teams. And here again for the registration page, so here again we need to add speakers. Like I added a speaker here, as you saw, or presenter, you know, so I added that one. But it's not replicated over here, because this is kind of just like a form which people that have to register have to fill in to register to the event, because we want to know who will be participating and all that kind of stuff. So here again I need to then write all the credentials, and I can go in and kind of fill in a speaker bio over here, and I can do all those things, you know, like to take that in here. So Knut is a totally amazing speaker and this kind of thing. So as you can see here, and thank you for the answering of the questions in the chat. I will point back to those afterwards as well. So here we can also have Peter Parker as a co-speaker. So here we can have Peter is good in spider webs, for instance. Here we can write a lot of those things. Here, of course, this we cannot fill in now because this is where we want the participants to kind of go in and register. But we can also go, you can see here, it's by default, you have the name, the last name, and the emails. And then we can actually go in here and also add more custom fields. So for instance, if you want to have the job title or the organization, we can choose it to be required or not required. We can go in and add, again, a field. We can then have a choice. For instance, we could have a choice question here. What track do you want to participate on? And then we can write the option, let's say just IT, cell, like more, let's do more mobile. We can have power apps, whatever. So then it will become also as part of the registration form for the attendees to kind of fill in this one as well. Then we can, of course, also put in an image. And here you see that we get also predefined which kind of the size of the image that is recommended to have. If not, of course, you can always anyways choose a picture and figure out what to do about that. So we can, for instance, let's just do this one. And then you can see that we can just kind of choose the part of the image that we want to use. So just let's do this one for now. And then you see that this is kind of how it is. It's not well, we can, as you can see, we cannot later go in and modify it. We can just zoom in and zoom out. So if you want to make changes, you need to upload another image. So let's do upload this one with all the people attending a conference. So like this. And we'll just go and put this one over here so I can pay attention to the questions as well. All right. So now I'm pretty happy with my form for registrations. So if we just go in here and we can click view the browser, we can also preview it. So here we go, and we can see this is the event details, and this is a preview of what the people will see. And you see now I didn't get everything over here because we didn't click the save button. So we need to save it first, and then we can go and preview it with the modifications in the browser, as you can see. So many times I put the preview and I didn't think that I need to kind of click the save button first, but yeah, we need to push the save button before we will be able to see things here. So this is how it works. So I'm happy with that. So that means that I can now copy the registration link, as you can see here. What we can do with that registration link, we can put it on social media if we want. We can put it actually any place where we want to promote this event to get people to register for it. So as you can see here, this is everything is here, and it is ready to be used. Let me just open this one in another browser, as we can see as well. So I have another browser over here. So I'll just take that window into the screen and we will paste it here. And you see now I'm not even logged in, and it says that I don't have access to it because, as you can see, if you go over here to my Microsoft Teams, I've set people in my organization. So if you put people in the organization, you're not going to be able to see it if you are not logged into that tenant already, because it does not ask you to sign in, as you could see. So you don't need to authenticate to do it. So if you want for everyone to be able to register, we need to go in and do it like this. And I can totally agree about this. So and mute chat. Yeah, thank you. Chat is always good to mute. I usually do that. So thank you for that, David. It's totally correct. That's best practice for everyone. So yeah. So let's view it again. I probably need to. So here we have my form. Everything looks good. If I now will copy the link, as you can see, we can copy the link again. if I now go into the same browser as I had before, over here, and we paste it, now we should be able to actually register. Maybe it didn't catch it yet, but it should be possible to register without anything else going on in there. Let's just double check. Yeah, required for everyone. So it should probably take a few minutes before it's been updated. But what we can also do, let's just go in here and I can add myself into the pipe here. And yes, I also would say that my best advice here is actually if you want to invite some external users as a presenter, it's kind of better to put them into your Azure Active Directory first as an external users and then add them in here afterwards. Because by this you can also control a little bit like how the name will show up here, which you cannot otherwise. So for instance, I would have gone into my Azure Active Directory and I will have added my own user here. So we can of course just do that right now. So I can go in here, go to users. I can add a new guest user. So here you see you can invite one or you can create one. So that's also where you need to go in and make a decision to how you want to do that. So because if you invite, you can also do it in bulk. So here you can type in the name. So I can type Knut Relbe-Moe, actually like this. And like this, and then I put in the email here. And please join my Azure AD. And then you can put in all these other elements as well. So this is kind of the process which I would have done it. So now I'm inviting myself. Just need to go to my other environment here. So then I should take a look at that one as well. So here we are. Let's go to my Outlook and let's see if I got it. So I didn't get it yet. So, but we can wait a little bit and we'll come back to that a little bit later. So as you can see, I have now added that user, which means that I can put this user as a presenter. But for now, let's use the one that I pre-created already here, so that we have this one. So this is actually myself in my own environment, but I've also added another one. So let's just go and actually do the Gmail one as well, just to see how that works. Great. So now I will just click send, as you can see here, just to get it into my Outlook calendar here. So now I have my event already here. You see you can already start to chat with participants if you want to pre-do that. So here you see now that I have the chat here. So I can say, hello all attendees. Here is the slides for the session, for instance. Do that pre-create that one. Another thing that we can also do is that we can, let's just join this one. I will not go into this without, because I don't want to block it, my other call. So now I'm already in my meeting. Let's see if this works how I wanted. Actually, it doesn't, so I think I need to go into another environment than this one and do the same, but let's come back to that. So let's go here for now. You can also see that we can go in and edit things. So here you see there's a few really cool things that are part of the webinars as well. So for instance, you can download at all times the attendees report. So when let's say I will go and register, you can see who should attend. And or from the registration, also you can afterwards see who actually was in the meeting or in the webinar, and you'll also see like how long was the person into the webinar. So you get all those statistics that you actually want to have when you're hosting a webinar. So you can kind of see like, did the webinar work? Was it great? Was it bad? Did people lose focus and all these kind of things? And you can also do a follow-up email here to the attendees, as you can see here. And you see here, for now, I was there only for 10 seconds because I just went in and out, and I'm also the role as an organizer. But you will actually see how it is when and how long the persons are as well into the meeting. So we have all these nice statistics as well that we can reuse later on. And as you can see, we have a possibility to create also meeting notes for this one if you want. We can have a whiteboard, and then of course in the webinar we can then use the whiteboard and use this one to draw on and all these kind of things. So all those things are part of the webinars in different tabs already. Or we might want to go and add some other things here as well, because maybe you want to have a Q&A session, you know, like we are having right now, but maybe you want actually to use this one for that Q&A session. So let's just add this one as well, and then you can see how it will look as well. And here you have a few possibilities. You can have attendees be allowed to ask questions or response to conversations, or you can also go and allow the organizers to moderate the conversation in case somebody is telling bad things or things that you don't want to have going on inside of the conversations. But nobody in the Microsoft community do those things, so let's just not do that for now. And then we are setting up a Q&A tab. So here you can see that as an organizer, I can also go in and ask questions, and of course here the attendees can also do exactly the same. So hello everyone, hope you enjoy this. And I can do post. So now this one will be here. Here we have a possibility to see questions and ask the questions and all questions. So there are a few filters there as well. And we can also go and like it. And as you can see, there are a few more options here as well. And you can, of course, go in and respond to it as a comment. So this is also how you can do more interactive webinars. Like for instance, if you want to ask a question as well, there's also an option to do that. So this is like type of question and answers that you can do in between. But of course, we can also just do kind of that inside of the chat, just as we do in this webinar right now. But if you want to kind of have a little bit more nice look and feel maybe and separate kind of questions from maybe just attendees talking to each other, or maybe you don't want to allow attendees to have the possibility to chat in here, but you want to move it over here, then you have that flexibility and possibility to do that. Another thing that a lot of times you might want to have as part of a webinar is, of course, maybe you want to have a form, because maybe you want to kind of have a poll or something like that in the beginning, you know. So that might be that you want to kind of maybe ask the attendees a few questions as part of the kind of the webinar. So here you see there are some ideas here that you can use for that. So here you can have quiz, polls, whatever. So this is really a nice way of also kind of have that more interactive way of having webinars, and not only the organizer or the speaker kind of talking all the time. So now you see that since I added this one, it went live. So that means that it is now also available here in the chat, and you can here go in and then answer it and submit them a vote. And then of course everybody all down here, it will be kind of showing automatically the different votes that comes in. So this is a way to kind of create it more interactive. And we can of course go here, and we can also close the poll. So as a moderator, you can have that poll open for a few minutes, and then you can close it to kind of give the speaker the feedback that he wants from the question that he is answering. So we saw that we have created one based on kind of the kind of the suggestions that was there. But you can also see here we can create a new one. So you can do a quiz, you can do a world cloud. So here you can put those in, and it will be a cloud, or we can just go in here and do a quiz, for instance. So you can see here what collaboration platform is the best. Slack, Workplace. And then, of course, we will do Microsoft Teams. Let's just do Teams for now. And then we can see here, we can have some few options as well. We can allow other people to be the co-author, just as we do in a normal Microsoft form. And we can also record the names of all respondents. But of course, here you need to be careful with the GDPR and all that kind of stuff, so you don't kind of overstep something. So, but we can correct answer we need also to mark. So Microsoft Teams, of course, is the best. So here you can see that this is now in the draft mode. I'm the only one that has access to it, but I can click launch. And then you see this one is also up live here. And now it is here. So that is a little bit like how you can do kind of more things with the webinar as well inside of Microsoft Teams. There's a few other options here, of course, and how can you make, and I just want to answer that question automatically right now. It's like how you can make it more corporate feel. That is a little bit tricky, you know, but typically how I would do this to make it more corporate is that you need to create a page where people should register. There you need to have the link that I just showed from here. And maybe you will use then you can kind of write a little bit about the webinar there, and then you can have a link that opens this registration form. But inside the webinar itself, there are a little bit more limitations to what we can do when it comes to making this more corporate feel. Because we of course we have a few tabs that we can add here. But one thing you could do is that, of course, if we go in to here, you see we have meeting notes, whiteboard, we have polls, and then we have the details. If we go into my calendar view here again and click edit, you see that we have, these are kind of the tabs that we are having. Here it could have been maybe like an idea to also add in maybe a page from within SharePoint where you are again referring to a little bit like that corporate look and feel, so that people will recognize that this is part of kind of the corporation. So for instance, you could go here and let's see if you can add a page here, or you can at least try to do some more of the tabs that are currently available. Some will of course be more available later on. But that's why I just mentioned that the best thing you could do is that you can actually put it in and adding them into the page that you have in SharePoint. But again, it depends if you are having a kind of open to everyone webinar, or if it's a webinar where you should do things just internally. So so let's just upload the file here. We can take a look at how that will also be working. So let me just find the file to put here. And then let's also go and actually try to see if the registration link is now working. Because then we can try to register as an external user and see how everything will be functioning for that. Yes, so now, as you can see here, I can go in and register. So let's just go in and register like this. Let's do this one. And I will decide to follow the Power Apps track. So now I'm registered, as you can see. So let's go back to my slide over here. Click close. And now I will just go and see if I got any email as well. So I haven't got the registration email yet for the event, but you saw I got the one that is the default one to get access to the tenant, as you can see here. So let's try also to register one time just with a Gmail or Microsoft Outlook account, because maybe that one will come in a little bit quicker. So let me just go and do that from within this environment. So let's go here. And we will just go into the same link. And just write Peter and like this, and just like that. So I think we will just jump back here to my other environment here, and you see now that I'm registered, and I can then click here to join, and you can also see that here I get like IC file to put it in my calendar, so I can add it to my calendar, and now this event will also be here inside of my calendar, as you can see here, this one. So you also can put it and get it into my calendar, so I also have it there. So let's just open it, and you see that here also we get then, okay, let's just join this one, and I will just continue in the browser. So you can see how this experience is also for the attendees. And now I haven't controlled that the attendee is not allowed to kind of do anything. So now you see that it's not started yet. So we need to wait for it to be started. So let's just jump down here. And now I'm in my own environment again. So we can see if I can start it now, even if I'm kind of in this one. So it's in the future, so that's why I cannot start it. So it's a bad example, but at least you see how everything is working and how it is. And we see the file here as well. So let's just go and take a look at the file, as you can see here. So this one we can also go and copy the link to. And the reason why I do that is because you see default here, anyone with the link can edit. This is kind of based on my settings in my environment. So this is something you need to configure as well, my default settings, because of course you don't want everybody to be able to kind of do that. And you see that this is in my share, it's in my OneDrive folder. So if I will go here, this is actually I cannot find it. Okay, let's try again with the full file. So this is in the, as you can see, this is in the my OneDrive folder. So it's stored inside of OneDrive. So that of course means that people will need access to that to be able to see it. So that also might need some extra configuration, but yeah, that's how it is. At least that it comes in here. So that is where are the files you are sharing stored. So it's whoever upload them into the meeting, they are stored currently inside of your OneDrive. Preferable, this should have been stored somewhere in SharePoint instead, in some ways, not in the OneDrive. But of course, a webinar, you just need to provide the access to these files for a certain amount of time before you kind of, they don't need to have access to them anymore. So it should be fine, even if it's in OneDrive. If a person leaves, then of course access to the files will be no more. So that's kind of also what you should think a little bit about. So one thing more that we need always to do when you have webinars is of course that we need to go here and configure what should the attendees be allowed to do when they're joining. So as you can see, I went here and I went up here on the top where we have the copy registration link. We also have the meeting options, and in here we need to go and click and select so we can configure. So for instance, here you can see who can present. specific people, because it's the people that is defined here as presenters. Those are the ones that will be allowed to present. Who can bypass the lobby is people I invite. So this one turn off allow forwarding the meeting invite. Or you can of course say everybody can bypass, so that they don't need to wait in the lobby. So you don't need to kind of go in and admit everyone. But again, it depends how you want to run your webinar. What is the preferred way of doing that? And then you can also get a notification people join or leave. You can go in and allow mic for attendees. No. You see everything here is default off, more or less. So it's only the reaction that's are allowed to have. But of course, if you want to allow them by default, you can do that. If not, you can of course go in and mute afterwards inside of the webinar as an organizer or a moderator. You can always go in and do it afterwards, but this is how it will be when people join, so that everybody joins on mute, so that the speaker are not interrupted by that. So that is kind of the way to do it. So I just wanted to jump back now, because I see we are on the peak of the time. So I just wanted to kind of show a little bit about what is coming when it comes to LinkedIn Live integration, because I had hoped that this would be in my tenant, but it's not. But let's just take a look anyways, because soon we will get an app in the Microsoft Teams store, which will be able to be added into the meetings. Just as you saw, I added on the tabs as well. But first you will then add it here to your environment, LinkedIn Live. And then afterwards, you need to add it to a meeting. So you need to kind of create the webinar first, and then you can add the LinkedIn Live to that webinar afterwards. But then it will be very super easy to go in and kind of stream your webinar into LinkedIn, you know, so you don't need to set up any other third-party solutions to do the same. This should have been rolled out by end of January, but it has been postponed a little bit. So now it's kind of talking around end of March. If from where I changed checked latest, that it should be end of March, which we are talking about, that this should be in more or less all the tenants. So by this, it will be kind of nice to get that kind of integration experience into LinkedIn Live from Microsoft Teams. And what you can do already today to prepare for this is actually to set a meeting policy flag already. So you can already right now prepare your environment for this. So there's actually just 2 command lines you need to do. On that is first of all, you need to connect to Microsoft Teams. So you need to have the Microsoft Teams module for PowerShell to be able to do that, but that you can download and install pretty easily. This one is just checking what is already there. And then the next one is actually setting that meeting policy to allow for live streaming mode. So when you have done that, you will be kind of ready to start to use LinkedIn Live integration when that is coming. Of course, there's also some other possibilities. I put in a couple of resources for that. So for instance, this latest is Graham Walsh that actually showing you more about that LinkedIn live streaming experience. And then you have open broadcast software, which actually allows you to connect to more or less any kind of social media platform to stream to that one. It's a super easy install. You just need to install it, and then you need to go and make a couple of changes in your Teams environment to be able to do that. And on this link, you can actually go in and take a look at that. It's and Steve Goodman, another great MVP, that is having a feed about like what you need to do for those things. So you can just read his blog, and then you can follow those very small steps to be able to do the same. So, but right now it's 12:42, so let's open for some questions, if there are still some left.
All right, so Thank you again, Knut, for the session. Let's double check. I think you covered some of the questions. I would like to do a shout out to Chintan Patel. I hope I pronounced the name correctly, for his tips on how to create the header images in PowerPoint with the sizes of height and width. There, we have some question from Felipe in regards to do you know if Microsoft plans to offer a way to presenters to get together and test their connection and document presentation before opening the webinar to viewers? Unless it's under NDA, yeah, I don't think we can share, but if you can share something, feel free.
Yeah. So thank you to everybody that asked questions and gave advices as well. That's what community is all about, you know, everybody sharing. So I do love that a lot. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well, everybody in the call. But yeah, there's not too much yet that we can share due to NDAs and other reasons. So, but I'm pretty sure that there will be a possibility to kind of get together and a little bit before everybody else joins, like, you know, like a grace period or something. But one thing you can do to kind of actually do that is that might actually work well, because what you can do, it's going to be a little bit small trick, you know, because as you can see here, we can define kind of, you know, from 12:30 to 1:30, for instance. So that means that the Teams meeting will be open from that period of time. But in the registration form, we could say that it is from kind of 1 to 1:30, as you can see here. So if I will go in and edit, you see that here it's from 1 p.m. to 1:30. It doesn't stop people from click the link before, but it's kind of highly unlikely that people will click it at least half an hour before, you know, so that might be a small trick which you can do. And of course, also if you in the meeting options over here, you say that people cannot bypass the lobby, then you can actually use the lobby for that kind of functionality as well, because then the meeting is running a little bit longer, and then you can test everything out before you kind of get started as part of the meeting you have. And when you have tested everything, then you can kind of open up and put people through from the lobby. But there's no automation here, like saying that, hey, you can leave in 10 minutes or something like that. So yeah, that could be a possibility. And then when to use webinars instead of meetings, like, you know, for instance, if you want to have that registration option, you know, and if you want to have the kind of all these things as part of your meeting, then this is kind of the way to go, you know. And also you have all these predefined the attendees reports and all that kind of things, which is part of a meeting. So for instance, if I will go in here, let's go to my calendar, I will just do a new meeting. So let's say hello, my meeting, just like this, click save. Then you see here that it is kind of, we don't have the same tabs also predefined up here, and there are coming more things here as well with that kind of capability. So we have those options. So yeah, and of course, if the Renee Henriksen, if the attendees add the webinar to the calendar when you use the little trick, does it take half an hour in the calendar? It should in the calendar, it will show whatever is in the form, I think, but I haven't tested that, so that you have to test. So to be sure that it doesn't show then a 1 hour meeting instead of a half an hour meeting. I haven't tested that, but I can test it out as well to see it later on. So yeah, so when to use webinars is also a little bit more like if you are planning to have external people joining, then a webinar is a better way to do it compared to just a normal meeting, in my opinion. And then let's say if there are anything more, Lisa, can attendees register under an alias, but their actual info still be available to presenter? So other attendees will not know who asked a question or comment, but presenter moderator will. That functionality, to my knowledge, is not there. So whatever you will see, it's kind of like you will see what is shown from when your registration is coming through. So that is not possible as of now. But this is a little bit like a lot of times why you want to do kind of not to see the name of person and so on. So the closest to kind of giving that functionality is kind of using a form, as we saw when we went into the edit mode, and we could add like a Microsoft form, because the form you can make anonymous. But the problem with form is that you don't get that question answer functionality that you're having with the chat or with the Q&A app as well as added there. But maybe that might be something people can create as a Microsoft Teams app that people might want to use. Maybe it's a good business opportunity to have something like that. So yeah, I think I covered all of them. If not, I will read through them afterwards, and I will pop my questions as well in the chat. So
yeah, we covered everything. I just screened the chat a couple of times, but either way, attendees can join the lounge and eventually continue the conversation there. Right, we're almost till the end of the time, but still, if any questions arise, we have a couple of minutes so we can utilize them effectively. Either way, once again, thank you everybody for attending this session. Thanks also to Knut for his in-depth explanation, as well as the tips we shared. As you mentioned, it is the community event, so sharing tips and information and knowledge, it's the whole point of the session we have this day. So either way, as far as the content goes, right, we have the next session planned in a few minutes. So but again, thank you again, everybody, and see you around on the other sessions as well as the launch.